Hello guys, welcome to the semi-finals of the EvilGood tournament. Today we are watching the battle between the teams of Jeffrey and Melanie. From above, Honor is played by Bosun, and Lazy Osha plays for the Blue Mountains. And this is Jeffrey's team. For 2 plays against them for Amar. And Zaharat Bilbo, and this is Melania's team. Cats from a subscriber. Let's go. So, here is the start to Cardelin and to the tent. There will be creeping here. There are 2 barracks on 4 farms. What's going on here? He plays Ritor. And it also costs 2 barracks. No one is trying to fasten it. Even the gnome does it somehow slowly. Okay. Botsman also puts an additional EK. They will have bows, horse archers. More precisely, I need to say more correctly, yes, horse archers are ordered the first detachment. Meanwhile, the dwarf had already killed the troll. The same thing happened here. It looks like Herod wants to rush, but he added a squad of javelin throwers. He won't have time to come here. Throws an ambush. The gnome cancels his mine, afraid of losing it. For some reason, another detachment of spearmen has been ordered, but he has 2 squads of swordsmen so he can defend against this attack. There are summoners standing here, waiting for something. Here the gnome quietly landed. True, without the 4th squad. Creeps. Does he have a mine? No. Plays through the Varchan. Meanwhile, his base was overrun by enemies. His teammate is trying to help him. Kills a squad of spear throwers. There's another one here. Pressuring with these troops is not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend it. And Harada also has troops at the base, and his teammate also helps him. We immediately see a very good team play. Well, it's true that the top team is also trying. Help each other, but somehow there are not enough troops so far at Arner. He set up a quarry, it seems to me too early. And yes, this is a mistake. There is no need to push them. Horse archers take damage when they crush units. This is not cavalry. There are. I got a little distracted. Meanwhile, Cardalin is collapsing. Very big losses. Somehow the bosun's game didn't work out. And it seems like he himself is to blame for this. He needs to make a fountain for the campaign. Here he has a worker. Let's look at his resources. His money is idle. Oh, as if today wasn't his day. Very bad. He decided to add cheap archers and cheap spearmen. Used heal to gain 1 horse archer, which he immediately lost. He built a fountain, but his spearmen died. Everything is very bad. Their tavern was also stolen. Herad built mercenaries from Kun. It seems to me that this match is already over. Yes, they, of course, have not lost yet, but the losses are too great. Maybe the dwarf will come up with something, but I see that everything is very bad at his base too. As if he needed a cart here, not a shooting range. He doesn't have enough troops to cover these archers. His teammate also has his troops at the base here. But his last squad, he had already lost everything. The card could have gone better, maybe he would have thrown the barrel, and as you can see, I was right, he immediately lost the squad and these are expensive archers, worth 500 coins. It's very difficult. He could have limited himself to crossbowmen for 300, they're pretty good. The same thing, instead of a shooting range he would have erected a second barracks. I would save on it, I would save on them. And would put the cart like this, it would be easier. But without the support of his teammate who can't do anything right now, he won't live long. I don't quite understand why Bosun is putting up a quarry. You don't need secondary economies from things like sawmills and quarries at the beginning of the game. Because they bring in money, maybe a little more than farms. Look, the worker gives 10 coins, but he is faster. There are 4 workers, they're faster income than from the farm. But such a building costs a little more and, more importantly, it takes much longer to build. It is more profitable for you to build farms when you no longer have room for a farm. Then you have to build a secondary economy. It was just played incorrectly. Well, here there's just some kind of horror already at the gnome's base. 2 giant scorpions take a small bite out of his fortress. We see that Bilbo made a mistake and this scorpion hits the tower. And not a fortress, but to be fair, he no longer controls it because he has already won, so let's not watch it either. Let's fast forward, and the first fight is over. 1-0. Now they have switched sides. And for the Lothlorien plays Fortau. And they also literally switched sides. And Bilbo plays for Gondor. Playing against them for Isengard is Bosun from the Ambly Mountains by Lazy Osha. Well, I would probably give a slight preference to this combination of factions than this, but very, very slightly. Because the pumped-up Lothlorien is very strong. By the way, Gondor is pumped up too, but he needs more time. More time, I mean, to swing. These same factions are better at the beginning of the game than in the late game. Early Azog is very strong. Rush by savages we know is also very strong. It's a little more difficult to rush on this map, but it's still possible. The Bosun builds scouts. So what? He will try to steal. Yes, he wants to steal from his opponents. Lazy Osha builds spiders, that is, he will help. Spiders are thick, they can cover scouts, and can help with cavalry. They won't save your scouts from cavalry, but they can kill a cavalry unit. That is, in principle, this is also a very good start, because spiders are much cheaper than a cavalry unit. If Lothlorien had played Moose, the spiders would have easily killed them. So, we see a rush by swordsmen from Gondor. The same standard one. Lazy Osha makes a mistake. Although this may have been done on purpose, but it was as if he had to cancel this tunnel. And he doesn't have enough goblins. He plays in 1 barracks. Because the spider's lair took him time. The swordsmen of Gondor under the counter are better than the spiders. Even despite the debuff, and the top team again uses a tactic where they rush 1 player. But this time the Bosun has built a cavalry detachment, and can serve as a very good support. The main thing for him is to stop being greedy. He needs to kill these elves first, and then the swordsmen. Warg riders level up to level 2. Lorena's archers and spearmen approach. But Bosun controls very well. Another detachment fails, and without a chance, Gondor will lose all its troops. He also began to let down the swordsmen and a detachment of spearmen, but it was as if it was too late. These guys received a lot of damage. Goblin swordsmen have also set up, and the second barracks of the forts wants to take the troll, and I think he will succeed. Bilbo also decided to wait a little with the attacks and pick up the wargs. Lazy Osha only takes one chest. The bosun did a pretty good job of selling it. 1.5 squad of archers, and plus these archers are now dying from spiders. Great attack. Apparently the guys from the bottom team were able to get together. After the shameful defeat in the last match, another squad of archers is crushed. How well Bosun started to play. Great simple. Bilbo has suffered enormous losses. I think Goblin should counterattack Bilbo now instead of, what is this? The archer just died, apparently. He shouldn't climb Lothlorien. The bosun should play defense now and just support with wargs. The goblin must strangle Gondar. That's all. Which is what he's trying to do now, by the way. But the elves came. The arms are not strong enough to defeat such an army. True, he tries to fight only with archers, it seems to me, if I'm not mistaken. He and lures are early. It would be better if he built more scouts. Meanwhile, Gondor manages to defeat the goblin army. Moreover, the losses were not that great, and the saddest thing for the goblin was that he took one end. That is, technically he didn't really lose anyone. There is another squad there. I just clicked on it somewhere. Here. These spearmen can also be saved. Maybe he just didn't notice. I don't like the build that Lazy Osha uses. They usually spam swordsmen if you don't rush. You just spam swordsmen to save money and go to Azad. If you play from defense, then it is more logical to build archers. He adds marauders. He also built spiders earlier. He has a second barracks range. That is, he is building standard bearers, or to be more precise, this was sealed for the sake of the standard bearers. That is, he does not save, he makes a more or less normal army. In this case, it must be strengthened with archers. Didn't switch, and there are no stops. He didn't switch stance here. I got it wrong. But this attack is already more successful. By the way, he also manages to distract the archers. And he wins here. Well, the bosun arrives. You can crush all these archers. Very good. These few have been partially resurrected. You can suppress them too. The main thing now is not to be greedy, because the wargs are very damaged and they can die completely. You need to wait a little. Meanwhile, Portov built Treebeard. He decided not to help his teammate. And take advantage of the fact that Isengard has a weaker army. If Goblin were playing Vezog, then Treebeard could easily be killed by now. But he plays Gorkala. Gorkal is really not crowned. But I suspect that he will not be able to quickly build Azog now, even if he wants to. He decided not to be distracted and just destroy the economy. He's even built archers already. That is, it's not bad. Now, one-on-one, the goblin can win Gondor. But what to do here? I don't see anything that will help Isengard repel this attack. The bosun installed the beacon. He needs help. Gorkil was crowned. Poison arrow damages Treebeard surprisingly well, if that hasn't been changed. Purely logically, this is stupidity. This doesn't make sense. But in fact, this is a useful thing. Now let's see. Through it. Yes, it poisons him a little, but then the troops also damage him. In principle, good damage goes through, but the ballista apparently doesn't reach him. The bosun panicked, began to crush the spearmen, and of course, not a very good idea. Treeworm no longer takes damage. Marauders kill foresters. Overall, the bottom team is holding their own. If they kill Treebeard, then there will be no problems and the goblins can go back to strangling Gondor. And he built the berserkers. A little and he got his first ballista. By the way, the ballista should be used to destroy the sacred tree first, because it gives invisibility to the troops around it. The bosun is no longer able to crush his enemies well. By his warg riders. Gorkil is almost level 4. Some kind of mistake from Fortau. In close combat, Treeworm went on the attack. Lurtz caught him now. And the berserkers, together with Ugluk, end the life of this huge tree. The noise was repaired by workers. I can choose them, but yes, they are workers, just like on the other side. Thus, the bottom team still managed to repel this attack at a great cost. At too great a cost because Bilbo is no longer losing, he attacks the economy again. There are very few goblins and troops left in Isengard. In addition, it is worth noting that he also lost all his cavalry. The cavalry that caused so much damage to Gondor is simply gone now. Meanwhile, Bilbo went out to the guards of the White Tree, who are quite scary. Archers are needed so that they can be countered. Not only just being built, Gorkil took a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Fortau is ordering a new one. Yes, I didn't even have to look here, I already understood that. Well, if the bosun manages to set up the ballista, then maybe everything will be fine with him. Third level Halder. Oh, but there are too few troops. This army is about twice as strong. If you are playing as Isengard against factions that prefer to build a lot of ranged units, you should build a lot of Uruk swordsmen. Berserkers are not a solution in this situation. This is just money wasted. He will shoot them. Yes, if there are many of them, it will be difficult for him. They can tank a lot. Good to tank. But since the armies are small, it will not be difficult for Fortau to focus every berserker. This is a bad idea. Swordsmen are much better at tanking. And a trap from the Halder. The remnants of the path guards kill the ballista. This is pretty bad. In addition, the third tier summons forts. And in this way he can kill the remnants of the enemy troops. Ugluk will die. If I were him, I would now perform a forced march and run under the fortress. Until the forts focus him. But the tree rotation is already on its way, and in the meantime the goblin has problems. because Bilbo has already set up quite a decent army. And he is already so confident of his victory that he built a workshop, and he orders a trebuchet. Plus he'll have a fountain here. How will lazy Osha respond? He builds a brood mother. I'm sure it's a bad idea against the White Tree Guardians. They can decide in some individual situations. Let's say you can use them to harass the economy. They dance well. But the heroic spearmen will easily kill them. These are monsters after all. Therefore, I would rather build many spider-backs. Let's look at pumping. Rook-I and Bosun have captains. That is, he can hope to catch Treebeard again and kill him with the captains. But his teammate is no longer winning. So I don't know what hope there is. Bilbo has 15 points, he also has the 3rd tier. It's a little short, but he took 2 tickets of the 1st tier, that is, he would have the 3rd tier now. If he had played a little differently, in principle he could still improve now in battle. But here it's already very bad, all the ports will soon get the 4th tier. The bosun slaughtered the punishers instead of the captains. But Treeworm runs very fast in a rage. But Berserker and Zingarda run faster. And Treeworm dies. A very good cavalry ride. Now the main thing for him is not to lose this ballista. The hands perked up and ran forward. Bortov had already begun to move into Adram's corner. So far he only has 1 squad, but still. And this 1 detachment was pushed through almost completely. Not bad, not bad. But things are still not going well for the bottom team. The fortress will now be lost to lazy Oshi. By the way, he had the 3rd shooting range, but maybe he only recently shook it. Really sad? The bosun had just fought back. And the teammate has already lost. There are few spearmen here. The cavalry can do a good job, but the elves are breathing down his back. True, in small quantities. And he also has little cavalry. We need a few more units. Will lazy Osha live? He wanders. Yes, he wants to continue the fight. The army is very weak. By this point, these archers should already have poison arrows. There should have been more spider riders. This moment, I only saw 2 squads. Maybe there were more of them, maybe he just lost them, don't know. But given the advantage he had over Bilbo, his army looks a little too weak in my opinion right now. But in general, I would play Azoga here. The very presence of Azad would not have allowed Fortov to brazenly send Treebeard like that. He would just call Ravenhide near him and catch him with alerts every time. And that would be nice. Okay. Gorko's flask of poison almost rolled away. He wants to use her. The bosun again defeats Fortov. The Galadrim continue to build forts. And he has reinforcements at his base. They sit under the fountain and are resurrected. And that's all for now. There's a hidden barracks here. Now you can throw Bilbo at the archers. I pressed X, but somehow the flask lazily hit. But they are pumped up, they are in the defense industry, plus there is a fountain. Therefore, the desired effect will not occur. By the way, the fort army suddenly has more than the bosun. And he probably gave money to lazy Osha. Cool. Ah, well, there are a lot of berserkers here. I don't understand why he builds them. Berserkers are not in the meta. Ask any good player, they will tell you that bears are weak right now. They need to be killed. It's just that testers are afraid to do this, because berserkers were once too strong and it ruined the game. The bosun swung to 20 heals. Not bad. A very strong, large army. The Galadrim dies. Portav only manages to save one detachment. But no matter how good the progress is on the left side, everything is terrible on the right side. Bilbo finishes off the remains of buildings. There is some kind of cunning foray to the rear that will help demolish Lazy Ashi's trebuchets, but he is losing his economy, which means he will not be able to fight normally. However, he will now have a third tier that he has not used yet, which can help his teammate. I think that Fortov will very soon receive a 25 and the same thing will happen to the bosun's army as just happened to Fortov's army. But the most important thing is that I don't see Fortov setting up. There are a lot of troops, he has bears and ballistae, that is, he only spent money on them. Basically the army looks very small and weak. He doesn't wait for forts, he immediately throws his 20 heal in. Well, everyone the remnants of the Uruks run away. Meanwhile, Lazy Ocean failed to destroy the trebuchets, but he has the third tier. Maybe he will do something to them now. Poisoned arrow in Faramir. By the way, he could die from it. On the aggressive side. No, I'm lying. It's over. Okay. I should shoot a ballista here, it's too late. Gorkil dismounted, but Kolba was in CD. Bortov has a third shooting range, you can still throw it. Yes, Bilbo is already passing through important buildings. There will be no access to ballistas now. The bosun accumulated 15 points. Well, the idea is that wargs can be taken. No, I'm confused. You can take the call of the savages, or a buff on sawmills, but he doesn't have many of them. One is working. No, I'm lying. Technically two, his sawmills are operating. Well, it looks like this is the end, guys. It's even a pity. I'd like to see how the bottom team could have played better. But they were not ready for Treebeard. Bortov came up with a great idea. If they had thought through this moment, and repulsed this attack with fewer losses, then we might have seen a long, interesting match. And so, not really. The shooting gallery is called. The bosun has too few troops, alas. Gorka leveled up and called the brood mothers. Minus Lord. Well, I'll probably waste it. They don't give up just because it's a tournament, but there's nothing to be won here. Although, a lot of wargs have accumulated. The bosun manages to stall for time, but Bilbo has built 3 trebuchets and begins to beat the fortress. We need to cover the trebuchets. -1. -2. -3. Will a fourth one really take it? Probably not. Spiders will no longer get through to him. But not bad, not bad. They don't want to give up. Let's go. The bosun is trying to demolish the last trebuchet. But he can't. He's missing a little bit. At what rate will he soon reach his second 25? Can he demolish the fortress? This one doesn't. It is equipped with armor. And this one, yes? Maybe. If there are no more abundances, Bilbo has his 20 heal. Lazy Osha will get hers soon. Portov was built by Enta. I don't believe my eyes. They repelled the attack. Bilbo lost almost all of his troops. A huge spider demolishes another trebuchet. He has nothing to protect himself from. He cannot stay here. They can carry all his remaining buildings here. But Bosun's base certainly looks terrible. And Lazy Oshi has no base at all. One tunnel remains. So, there is a rock score. Well, let's look at the bosun. So, by the way, Fortov has nothing here yet. Yes, the bosun also received a second 20 heal. There are eagles and there are oath breakers. In principle, Bilbo does everything right. He does not use his abundance. If now both 20 heals are called to 1 point, he will counter both with oath breakers. If not, he can throw eagles at the Balrog, and the oath of criminals at Izina's army. Yes, throw, well. Of course, I understand that no matter what they use, Bilbo will still defy the oath of criminals. But suppose they didn't know that this abundance was there. Well, we didn't expect this. Throw at the fortress with armor and towers. When there is a fortress that has no defense other than the Lorn and the third-level barracks, it's stupid. He could have used the abundance here, and if not for this, the fortress would have fallen. Balrog was summoned to the army of elves to drive it away, apparently. Well, okay. But if I were them, I would still carry the crate. Portav. I don't think they could win because of this. Because they don't have enough troops to demolish the entire base, he would just lose a lot. But since they decided not to give up, they could at least bide their time. So, Bilbo's next attack destroys Lazy Ashi's fortress. He has few troops left, but he has already done most of the damage. And there's just a little bit left to do. Okay, now Fortov is attacking. Let's rewind again. How many spiders have accumulated? Gorka lives purely on appeals. Well, and 2 squads of spider riders. The bosun's mind rolled away. Nothing is happening yet, let's speed it up. Bilbo decided to build a fortress here. He's probably tired. Ports uses light mango, or am I mistaken? They light, she apologizes and... But Bilbo still has enough troops to defend this fortress, so it won't be possible to demolish it. Maybe Aragorn and his guards are also here. Two Ents from Fortov come to the rescue. Well, he can also use forts and eagles to kill Sermon. Sermon can fireball Ven now. Why he threw it at the wrong end, I don't know, but he used the third tier, so one end died very quickly. The second one is trying to leave. There are horsemen with upgraded blades who can inflict a lot of damage to the Ents' back. True, they prefer to crush the elves. But you can't run far from the base, because Bilbo attacks again. True, he has few troops. And I thought I lost Aragorn, but no, I didn't. Fortov should use the eagles now. Isengard has practically no archers. A few scouts remain. Technically there are 3 squads, by the way, but in fact there are none. You can easily kill all of his heroes, and without them Bosun won't be able to fight Bilbo much. Well, this is actually what we see. Saruman dies. But instead of finishing off the heroes, he decided to try to kill Gorkal. Bilbo uses the oil drain and burns several dozen Uruks. Fortov shoots at the fortress, demolishes the outbuilding. And it's time to give up. But no, they don't want to. Potsman goes on the attack again. One shot remains at the fortress, and that's it. Fort defeats the remnants of his army, and thus Melania wins and reaches the finals. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe, like. Bye everyone.